Welcome into hour number 2 of a Friday edition of Ron Potesta in the Morning. Good Friday morning to you. Last night's the primetime hearing of the House Select Committee investigating the U.S. Capitol situation shined an unflattering light on then-President Donald Trump's reaction to the violent riot waged by his supporters. And joining me on the hotline to talk about last night's meeting and get-together, political columnist, award-winning writer, and gun rights policy expert, Gabriella Hoffman. Gabriella, good morning to you.
Good morning and happy Friday. Thanks for having me on.
Happy Friday. We count down to the weekend. Last night, in prime time, the U.S. the Select Committee, House Select Committee got together. What were your impressions on last night's primetime meeting?
Of the highlights I was able to catch, and I try not to watch it so much because we know ultimately, I think a lot of us, especially some of us in D.C. media, kind of know where this is heading. Certainly this committee is a lot of pomp and circumstance, and it's still very, I guess, hot button in the Beltway and in corners of Twitter to kind of put a nail in the coffin of Trump's future prospects to run for president. But I think most of the country is tuned out because a lot of people have seen what happened on January 6th. They didn't like it, of course, but they have other problems to deal with now.
Yeah, I think that it's basically along party lines. If you're a Republican, you're probably not paying too much attention to this. If you're a Democrat, you're watching this, and the further left you are, the more glued you are to the Select Committee investigation. But you know, last night some of the highlights, I thought Adam Kinzinger and Elaine Loria walked viewers through a minute-by-minute recap of how the former president spent the hours while things were going on in D.C.
Yes, they wanted to certainly find as much as they can, and oftentimes you see on social media that this is going to be incriminating, it's going to be the end of anything relating to Republicans. Republicans will be impugned. There's nothing left for the party. They're kind of irredeemable. And then some other evidence, from my understanding from hearing about and catching highlights of previous iterations like this of the Select Committee, they kind of blow over and they don't turn out to be anything really different from what we understand happened that day. So, of course, it's a production, and a lot of Republicans, I think, are tuning out because it's not seen as a fair and impartial committee. It seems very skewed to the left. They don't have an equal number of people on the Republican side. If this was truly a committee to get down to the bottom of nefarious things, it seems to be one-sided. And that is why, like I said, you see people tuning out, even though they claim to drag out, they have new evidence that's going to be incriminating from there. And I guess the public is not responding much to the production quality that they're trying to put out there.
Young Voices commentator Gabriella Hoffman joining me on the hotline. If anything, Gabriella, is this just shining a light on something that hopefully we never see again? And all the semantics aside, if we never see a repeat of what we saw last January, then maybe this is a good thing that this is happening, so we don't get a repeat of what we saw almost 2 years ago.
I don't think the American public wants to see a repeat of what happened on January 6th or any other attempted takeover of government, violent riots. I think people are tired of that. There was obviously an attack last night on New York gubernatorial candidate. I think people are tired of violence. What type of violence gets called out is very interesting. They seem to be very selective. On the left, they don't call out left-wing violence. They will call it and obviously point out right-wing violence. But I think most of the country, like I said, does not want to see a repeat of this, but they have other priorities that they're dealing with, and this comes in a very, very, very towards the bottom when it comes to priorities. But I think most people want to move on, and like I said, never see something like this again. But do they trust the Democrats to prevent something like that? I'm not sure.
Gabriella Hoffman joining me on the hotline. And for those wondering of the reference, last night a Republican congressman running for governor in the state of New York was attacked. Fortunately, the attacker did not do any bodily damage at all. He was tackled and taken away. But I don't understand why people are now becoming emboldened to the point where they feel that they can do this without any circumstance, without any punishment.
Well, the state of New York has set standards where criminals are more rewarded than victims. So the guy probably thought he could attack a sitting member of Congress who is the Republican nominee for governor and get away with it. We'll see if he is punished to the fullest extent of the law. Like we saw with the recent circumstance concerning the bodega owner, it took widespread media dissatisfaction with his imprisonment in Rikers Island to get him out of there, charges cleared. But if cases don't ever become very widespread or have a lot of attention in terms of outrage, a lot of people will be stuck in the criminal system for simply acting on self-defense or being attacked. Or the criminals more so will have lenient charges against them or no charges against them at all. But again, New York is setting a standard, not a very good one in terms of prosecuting criminals. And so that's why these people feel, unfortunately, emboldened to attack because they don't have any repercussions for their actions. There are no repercussions for their actions.
This one seems to be a slam dunk, though. I mean, the guy goes on stage and he's wielding, I should say, brass knuckles, and within the brass knuckles look to be blades of some sort. So hopefully he'll get slammed to the fullest extent of the law, and we'll go from there. Gabriella Hoffman joining me. She is a political columnist for Town Hall. She's an award-winning writer, gun rights policy expert, and a Young Voices commentator. Gabriella, do we anticipate any more prime time or any more meetings per se from the January 6th committee?
I've seen some reports that it may be done for now, but they may try to resurrect it in the fall, right around midterm time, of course. So we'll see what happens. But like I said, it is not on the mind of most people. People want to forget that day, especially with other concerns that are popping up like inflation, energy costs, violence that is increasing in major cities. So a lot of people have things on their mind that are weighing them down more than this select committee, which is turning out to be a very one-sided kind of partisan show and not something that would actually get down to the bottom of preventing something like January 6th again.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see how many people watched last night. The first primetime get-together drew about 20 million people with all of the venues that showed the first meeting. I'll be curious to see how many people watched this particular meeting. But again, November we'll find out just what the people, the American people, are thinking when they go to the ballot box. I believe all of us are anticipating a Republican victory of some sort, and we'll see what happens. Gabriella, thank you so very much for your time. Look forward to speaking with you soon.
Thank you for having me.
You got it. Political columnist for Town Hall. She's an award-winning writer, gun rights policy expert, and a Young Voices commentator. Gabriella Hoffman joining me on the hotline.